Rebecca here, and I'm going to show you the end of our Teabag hat for our 2016 40 Hats in 40 Days project. I've just finished knitting my project to 6.5 inches, and that's measured by rolling it down and measuring from the bottom to where the needle is. So now I'm going to do what's called a 3-needle bind off. I've got my 16-inch needle that I started with, and here's my marker for the beginning of the round. First, I'm going to take my marker off, put that aside, and then I'm going to turn my work so that both needles are facing to the right. With that done, I'm going to keep my right hand on those needle tips so that my stitches don't leave. I'm then going to count 30 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 4, 6, 8, 30. Right there, I'm going to grab my cable and sort of fold it so that I can push the stitches away from it. And that divides them into 2 needles. And it folds our hat nice and neat across the top. This is going to form our 3-needle bind off seam to create our Teabag hat. My working yarn is here and it's ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my size 7 double point needle. I enter knitwise into the front needle stitch and knitwise into the back needle stitch. I've got 2 loops on my double point needle. Now I'm going to take my working yarn and wrap that around, pull that through, almost like I'm knitting 2 together. Now I'm going to slide those 2 stitches off. They should be together, and I'm ready to do that again. Knitwise into the front needle, knitwise into the back needle. 2 loops on this needle. I now work those 2 stitches together. Now this is where the bind off begins. I'm going to take one of those needle tips and I'm going to take the first finished stitch, pass it over the second, just like I do in a traditional bind off. Now all I have to do is take this right hand needle, go knitwise into the front stitch, knitwise into the back stitch, work that together, and every time I work a set of those front and back stitches, I'm going to leapfrog this first stitch over the second, leaving 1 loop on. I'm going to continue this until all 30 sets of front and back stitches are bound off. Now I'm ready to do my last 2 stitches, front and back, knit them together, and leapfrog, get the correct needle out there, leapfrog to bind off. What we have is a nice flat seam with a finished edge, chains all the way across. Now all I have to do is finish this stitch off either by knotting it or pulling the loop through, cutting it clean. What I usually do with this is leave the tail finished off, leave about 12 or 14 inches, and then I'm going to make a little pom-pom or a tassel, and I'll use my tail to attach it. Back over here, I'll attach another pom-pom or tassel, and I'll use a separate piece of yarn to attach that. Thanks very much for being part of this project, and thank you for knitting a Teabag hat.